Next is the Google Sheets controller. So we can go into this bullet list, for example. We can simply go into the productivity dropdown category and then connect our sheets as a new input. This, like the Google Slides controller, will then show every single document that's a Sheets document from that Google account to then use to connect to our actual graphic. So for example, if we go into Fruit that was modified 2 days ago, we can see an interface that looks very similar to multi-entry and also very similar to spreadsheets if you use that in the past, where we have access to a little bit different, different kind of thing. So we can see here from this actual interface, we have the ability through these little red icons to, when clicking them, get a small snap, a little thumbnail preview of our graphic. Then we can kind of hover over the different fields of our graphic that we can connect or assign that data to. For example, if we wanted to connect line 1 to our name, we can see here this name variable, and it also tells you in parentheses what type of variable it is. So for example, if I had an image square on the right here, like I have on some of these other graphics, we would get in parentheses that it is an image variable. That way you understand that you're pairing these with the correct type of variable so that it could actually read your information properly. So for line 1, we can simply connect it to our name header. We can see here with this green icon indicates that that information has then been linked. We can link line 2 to be the first line of our graphic, and then we can link to our third graphic. Unfortunately, I don't have enough fields on this particular spreadsheet to add to our actual graphic, but if I wanted to, I can go into that graphic itself. If, let's say, for example, Sean had that spreadsheet open on Google Drive, he can add several columns out, and then actually it'd probably be better if I just demonstrated that from the actual Google Sheet itself. So we can go ahead and see that I have access to our Fruit document here.
Yeah, load it up in real time.
Yeah, show them what it's all about. So we can see here, we can then add line 4 as a column header to actually initialize that as a variable. So like we saw on our interface here, we can see that all of these column headers are initialized so that I can then represent that as different rows of information. So then understanding that, I can pretty much just emulate that through with consecutive lines. Something for Apple, we can say that it grows on a tree. This one grows on a tree as well. And this one grows on a tree as well. Then we can add line 5. Or line 5, sorry. I can say that I don't like them and I do like them. And then we can put no opinion. So then we can see after updating this particular sheet, we can see save to drive. This pretty much announces that this sheet has been updated. Now from the actual interface itself, we can then simply refresh here, and we can then see the new lines or the new rows of information that I can then use to connect to my graphic. So I can now add this to be line 3 for line 4 and then line 5 for line 4. It's a little bit out of misaligned on that sense, but we can then pretty much assume that we would name these accordingly. So let's go ahead and play this graphic live and then cue these changes out onto our actual graphic. So we can see here that, oh, I see, I connected it to the other rows. So we can see here that when I play this graphic live, we have our instance of information going live onto our graphic. We can see green, tart, tree, and I don't like. Then if I navigate to my third line, we can see that information automatically update onto our graphic, or if I desire to, I can use the play next button to then show the next line of information. But I also have access to autoplay controls. So for example, if I had 20 lines of information to display different types of fruit, if I wanted to, I can then set a custom delay in between each line and start autoplay. So then I have a custom delay between each line, and then it's a pretty much hands-off operation for that particular graphic in terms of that set of information.
So a question from Jim Petramilli that's very relevant to what we're talking about now. If you typed Apple in line 1, would it automatically populate other lines?
So Apple in line 1. So here, for example, as in the actual...
I don't know. I guess I was hoping you would know.
I would probably need some extra clarification.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
But let's say, for example, you did want to customize this information. So let's say at line 1, row 2 is no longer apple, and now it is a green strawberry that is tart since it's no longer ripe. Funnily enough, that works perfectly fine for that example. So then we can see upon refreshing this, we then get an update of whatever it is that we customized. If we wanted to change these variable names at the top to be something like header, oops, and then the consecutive ones to actually correspond properly to the, the variable names of that graphic, then change all this information, and hopefully it answers that question somewhat. We can then see that it's safe to drive. Simply refreshing that will update the variable names. If I do so, have to then reconnect since it's no longer a matching variable name, but we do have the option to then reconnect. But so there's a variety of things that you can do when it comes to incorporating pretty much what we would refer to a cloud workflow. So if you want to use something like a cloud presentation or a cloud spreadsheet to then drive information directly into your graphic, then you have these options at your disposal to pretty much have a remote operation if you desire, or just something as flexible as possible that is going to incorporate every single operator that you need and every single piece of information that you require.
So Jim followed up with some more information on that, but it sounds like what he's asking for. Let me actually just rephrase it. Jim Petromilli, if you type in apple in line 1, would it automatically populate other lines? I believe he means the graphic itself. Specifically, typing in a player number would bring up all associated info. So I think what he's asking for is something that I've actually wanted to talk about and show off. I don't think I can easily show it off, but if you, Joe, could you go under settings? You'll see an option under settings called use instant search. And what that does is now when you type anything, then it will search for a graphic with that name. So where it says name field, we currently are looking at ceramic list. And so if you typed ceramic list +1 or ceramic list +2, then it will bring up cell information in ceramic list from row 1 or row 2.
Yeah. One thing that just reminded me, which was probably more so pertaining more specifically to what he said about Google Sheets, there is that find feature within the controller itself. So if I typed in Apple here, or Apple's no longer there.
Now.
So if we typed in orange, then we can see all the actual rows for orange pop up correspondingly. So then I can press enter for that, and then we can pretty much queue that out. I'll go ahead and stop, and then it's pretty much finds it within our playlist or within our actual sheet for our Google Sheet.